What is up guys, it's Zero here, and today I have for you the deck profile for an event plan for once. You click on this, you already know what this is, it's spikes. Don't do these too often just because I don't care to finish any of these stupid event decks. But I do care to finish spikes, that it was the only plan event that I actually bothered investing in because it's pretty good throughout all waves of support, and this wave of support is still pretty good, I'd say. Deck ceiling got raised by a lot. The floor also did drop a bit, honestly speaking, but I'll explain all the stuff first, go over thoughts at the end, go print just the usual stuff, explain the cards, potential other cards you can play in those card slots, and yeah. So this is the list that I ended up on with the bit of testing. So yeah, I'll go over everything as per usual, and then I'll go also go over replacements and stuff like that. So first off, the starter is the Mecha Trainer. So if you don't know what Mecha Trainer does, he is a Conroe. He is a carbon copy of a Conroe. CB1, retire it, and search it for grade 1 or lower. There are only grade 1s in the deck, no grade 0, so you can search for grade 1s. Usually the target is a PG. Sometimes you get the Gary Gannon, the Gary the Snail, the filter. But for once, the Conroe isn't actually just the straight up starter you play without thinking. The grade 3 searcher, the Psychic Mel, is also a starter that some people do decide to play because this deck is very, very reliant on seeing bad end as your first ride. If you don't ride bad end first, your entire game does fall apart. So there definitely is an argument to play the Psychic Mel, but to me, I think the safety net of the Conroe being able to grab a PG is just better, as well as you sometimes, if you have a PG in hand, like you have one or two by the time you want to use the Mecha Trainer. Sometimes you just grab the Gary Gannon to help you filter your deck to try to dig for the said bad end sometimes, and the Frozen Ogle, your breaker targets. I think having the filter in the deck, letting you dig through your deck every turn, makes it so you don't have to play the Psychic Mel, and by not playing Psychic Mel, you can actually just grab a PG if you already have all your pieces. So the biggest problem with Psychic Mel is that if you just hard drew all your pieces, it's a starter that does absolutely nothing. At least with this, you have a backup plan of having to grab the Gary to help you dig for your pieces, while if you already have your pieces, you can grab a PG instead of the safety net, so yeah. I think Trainer's still a little better as a starter, but if you value the consistency of seeing the bad end more, or a higher chance of seeing the bad end, I think, or the Frozen Ogle to breaker, I think the second one is a perfectly fine starter, so I think it actually does come out of preference. I prefer Mecha Trainer because I like playing safe more. Next up, PG. New PG because your deck is Break Rider Alliance, so you don't want to get held up by crit. So yeah, that's how you play this PG. For Reckless, honestly, this card could be cut completely, but I still keep it because I still want to have. There's actually two reasons why I keep this card. It's a card that I want to keep because it's a tagger by itself, meaning it's something that can hit and get itself off the board against something like Wing Joker, because that's what the deck was good at before. You could tag all your cards off the board, push them while still pushing damage, and not worried about having anything in the front row that they can lock. So that's the reason. But the other reason is that this card on a break ride turn is what? It's 12 by itself plus 15k power, makes it 27, meaning it hits over 1 defensive unboosted. And since it's a grade 1, it's something that the summoner can call off of the top of your deck, meaning this is a grade 1 that can hit past the defense without having to be boosted, which is actually really nice. So yeah. Helps your combo turn, helps you against Link Joker, and it's also just a Soul Blast out if you need to get cards and drop for the game. If you ended up being pushed for damage too early, so yeah. If you don't value any of those things, which is understandable, your other choice here would be more copies of Daisy, so more targets for the Jelly Beans, or the Wild Hitter to help you make your breaker turn slightly better. But the problem to me with Wild Hitter is that since I'm playing the Gary Gannon, the filter, I usually slap this behind the Vanguard so I can actually get to use the filter every turn. So that just directly conflicts with where you want to place the Wild Hitter as well. So I don't see a reason where I don't see a world where I want to play both in the same deck because they both conflict for the same spot of where I want to put them. Also, the Wild Hitter is Trigger Reliant. You have to see a trigger. It is RNG Reliant, so I'm not the biggest fan of it right now in this list. This deck is already high roll enough as is, so yeah. And then I'll go over one spot. It's the Dudley Daisy. It's a Dudley for the Jelly Beans to grab. That's a grade 1. So yeah. If you don't want to play as many of these of the Reckless or the Gary, you can definitely play more copies of Daisy to have more piece targets, which sometimes does come up but doesn't come up enough. to the point where I want to play more of a actual 7K vanilla. So, yeah. And finally, a card that I didn't think I'd actually be playing this deck, but it turns out it's a card that I actually really like, is the Gary Gannon, the Filter. So his skill is when attacked and boosted hits, you can discard a card to draw a card. So it is just a 1 boosted hit filter. Again, the main reason this card's in the deck is because it helps you dig for your pieces. It's mainly you dig for your ride, Bad End, the Frozen Ogle, or not the Frozen, the Bloody Ogle, and then the Frozen Ogle you also want one in your hand or break right turn if they don't have the winner set, which is really nice. So yeah, this card helps you dig for your pieces, which is the reason why I choose to play it. So yeah, surprisingly really good card. I actually really like this card. If you don't think you need these, again, you should probably play Wild Hitter if you don't think you need these. So yeah, that's it for the grade 1s. The grade 2s, I play 4 of the Silver Blaze. So he is the mate to the triple rare, the Emerald Blaze, but I don't think the Emerald Blaze stuff is very good, so I don't play that at all. But his mate, I think, is pretty good. So his skills, when he attacks the Vanguard, if your Vanguard is in Legion, you can Soul Blast one to give him 10k, and at that turn he puts himself at the bottom of the deck. So this card's good because on a break ride kill turn, this card hits 31 by itself. So you hit over 2 defenses. You hit over 2 defenses without needing to be boosted, if I did my math right. If he needs a boost, let's see, so 19 plus 20, 19 plus 15 is what? Holy shit, man. 19 plus, yeah, that is a 31, so yeah. It hits big numbers, that's what this card's here. Hits big numbers, but you realistically only need 1 of it, so that's why I'm playing 2 of it. So if 1 ends up being stuck in damage, I ride 1, there's still 1 left in the deck somewhere, realistically speaking. And if your opponent hits no defense, you don't need this card at all, so that's why you don't need that many of this card. Also, because you're not playing the Legion leader for him, you don't need that many of him for that reason as well. A card you do need 4 of though is the Frozen Ogle. So his skill is on the turn that your Vanguard Legioned. At the end of the battle that this card attacks the Vanguard, you can CV1 to put him into Soul to call your deck for any card that isn't Frozen Ogle to an open river circle. So the reason this is here, so you can't just loop copies of it to just keep smacking face and keep getting extra multi attacks for 1 counter blast. That's why it can't call itself. But this card is your new main enabler to do your super degenerate multi attacks. Think of this card as what Mason did for the deck before, except it's CB1 and it doesn't need to hit, but it's more specific on its timing. So yeah, this card is very good and is the mate to your to the Bloody Ogle, so that's why you absolutely need to play 4 of this card, no questions asked. So, very good. It's your main combo attack enabler, your main extender. It's the mate as well, so yeah. It'd be stupid to play anything less than 4. Next up, the Deadly Mason. His skill is on hit the Vanguard, you can CB2, put a card from your hand into your soul to call a card to an empty reverse circle from your deck. So this card is here mainly just as a Jelly Bean target. You actually don't have to play this card. This card is just your backup plan to get extra attacks if you miss the Bloody Ogle ride, but you still roll the Bad End and you just roll something else on top of it. It'd be like another Bad End or Jelly Beans or something. Just to get the power and the ability to put your cards to the bottom of the deck. So I think this card is still nice to have in the deck. It could also just be a really awkward and a super expensive Frozen Ogle on your kill turn. So yeah, I think it's still nice to have, but this is his skill doesn't come up enough that I would put as a mandatory card to have. It sucks that if you don't have it, you don't have it, but if you don't have this, you can definitely play the 10k Vanilla Dudley card that we got from the new set, which is just a 10k Vanilla. That's your next best Dudley option now, so yeah. Mason is a card that you play as many as you have, but you shouldn't go out of your way to get unless you already have everything else for the deck, so yeah. Good card, nice to have, but it's not mandatory, I'd say. And finally, the 3, Devil Summoner on play. Look at your deck, if it's great to a lower, call it, otherwise shuffle. Put it back and shuffle. It's the Transriser, it's a potential 3+. You will take whatever plus you can with this deck, but it's also another play extender or another multi-attack enabler, because like you did before with the Mason stuff where you call the summoner from deck and then have the summoner potentially call out part of the deck like that, it can do the same thing with the Frozen Ogle when your opponent's like, just say your opponent's at 5. You push them, you're out of ways to call extra cards, you call the summoner can call you an extra attack that out of the open ringer circle, so yeah. It's there for that, and it's also just a nice way to plus early in the game if you draw into it, yeah. That's it for the grade 2s. Yeah, not a whole lot of extra replacements here. I'd say the only card you replace is the Mason for Vanillas. Other cards I've seen people play are the Zachary, when his attack hits a Vanguard, you can Soul Blast on point bond that can draw a card. I've tried it, it's nice, but I think the Frozen is too important. The Frozen and the Dudley targets are cards you shouldn't be cutting, so I think that's 8 slots just be taken out, so you have 5 extra slots here. Summoner is just too nice, it's just too good of an extender to pass up, so I guess if you don't value the Silver Blaze's ability to scale past defensive super well, you could try some copies of Zachary in those slots, but I've tried the card, it's nice in early game, but it's a 9k vanilla in the late games, which I don't like very much, so yeah. I've tried it, but I didn't like it. Onwards to grade 3, Bad End Dragger, he's the Break Ride, you absolutely need 4 of this card now. Break Ride, you give your Vanguard 2 skills, all your rears get 10k during all your front rowers get 10k during your turn, and at the end of the battle that they attack, put them out of the deck. Mandatory, so your front row will be empty if you attack to everything on the turn, and when boosted plus 3k. So yeah. Reason this card's so good, it turns anything into a combo piece, so you're not forced to play actual taggers in your deck like Bracky, Jugs, and Reckless, although I am playing Reckless, but you don't have to play, you don't have to actively make space for stuff like Bracky and Jugs anymore. But, or you don't need them at all with a list like this. So yeah, that's nice, and the 10k power lets your card scale to really big numbers, which is needed when if you're trying to kill people from like 3 damage. Yeah, absolutely necessary, you absolutely need this as your first ride. Old card, Jelly Beans, scan slot, for hand, put it back to deck, search your deck for any Dudley. This deck is only playing 5 targets, the 4 Masons and the 1 Daisy. So yeah, these are your targets in this deck. Obviously, if you want more, you can play more, but I find 5 to be enough. You know, yeah, it's a recyclable heal, it's really good. It helps you, because this deck is just trying to like, stall the game up for as long as possible, run your opponent dry out of intercepts, your opponent with only 1 left, and then go for kills from there. So, Beans build to prolong the game is really nice. And finally, the new card, the Legion, the break card target, is the Bloody Ogle, so he Legion's with the Frozen Ogle, and his skill is, on the turn you Legion, all your front rowers get plus 5k, and at the end of the battle that it attacked, put it back to the bottom deck. So, this plus Emperor means your front row just gets 15k for the turn. Everything is just fucking ginormous now. Like, if your opponent hits no defenses from when you're trying to kill them from 3, Summoner hits unboosted. Your entire, like, everything just hits, which is really good. So, discarding tandem with the Bad End. Although this card by itself, if you have to hard ride this, it absolutely sucks. And the other skill, which isn't actually tied to Legion, is when attacking a Vanguard, you can CB2 to put a card from your hand to solo call your deck. To call a card from your deck to an open graveyard circle. So, it's half an Emperor. it is half an Emperor. CB2, put a card from your hand, and to select to call 1 card. Emperor calls 2, the card calls 1. So yeah. And then finally, the last card is, surprisingly, Skydiver. Not Juggernaut or anything, or like an extra ride, it is Skydiver. So his skill is, on hit, you can put him into soul to call a card from your hand to, I think it was anywhere, or the open or whatever. You usually just call it to where he was, because he left the board now. Yeah. This card is actually really good with this deck. It helps you extend your plays super well, because you can get extra hidden, and if you have extra, and it is one of the ways where if you have an extra frozen Ogle in your hand, you can actually go Frozen Ogle hit, and then, assuming you're at 3 of course, the Frozen Ogle hit, skill call Skydiver, and the Skydiver hit, put in a soul, and call another Frozen Ogle, and then that Ogle can proc now as well. Since Frozen Ogle isn't hard once per turn, it's just, you can't call itself. Yeah. Like, this card just causes like super degeneracy with this deck to extend combos further than it could before, so yeah. The one of Diver is actually really good in this deck. So, cards I'm not playing that you might be wondering, the Emerald Blaze, the other Legion. My problem with that card is that it is it's nice that it calls 2, but the problem is that it specifically requires a Persona cost, so you have to put either the Mate or the Vanguard into Soul, so, and you're already trying to grab like a bunch of other cards, so the problem with that is that on your kill turn, it might just be too inconsistent for you to actually use the Emerald Blaze, so yeah. And why you can't just play a straight up like 8 Legion deck and then play 4 Jelly Beans as like a recyclable heal and try to like be Royals is that this deck doesn't have a counter charger, or a good one at least, so you can't consistently pay all those costs every single turn, because everything costs like CB2, CB1, and you're just like, yeah, I can't pay for cost anymore, and then you just sit there Legioning but without any way to plus or anything like that. So yeah, that's why I don't think you can put any Legion deck. This deck now is just like it was before. It has a very high kill ceiling. It probably is just the deck that can kill you the hardest right now. But the problem is, it's still very reliant on your opponent not having double intercept to actually do your super strong kill combos. If your opponent has 2 intercepts from 3 damage, you're checking at most 2 PGs, maybe 3, if you can high roll really well. But yeah. So the deck, and since you're not playing Emperor anymore, your break ride target, your backup plan of when you whiff your break ride as your first ride, it just became infinitely worse because Frozen Oval isn't that good a card by itself. It's really good with the break ride, but it's really bad by itself. So yeah. So that's my list. Tell me what you think about down below in the comments. Like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Awesome games for you guys after this, as per usual, and I will see you guys next time. So.